All the way back in March 2010, just 3 days before the first movie hit theaters, a How to Train Your Dragon video game was released. With that knowledge, I quickly ordered myself a copy, dusted off my PS3, and decided I was going to get the Platinum Trophy. The game has a total of 48 trophies including the Platinum and was an estimated 3 out of 10 difficulty with a minimum of 2 playthroughs. My plan going into this was to play through the story and earn the progression trophies while going after all the miscellaneous ones I could between levels. Then I had to spend some time in the game's arcade mode, and finally I had to play the story in its entirety a second time, all for 1 bronze trophy. In the opening cutscenes, Stoic introduced the premise of the game, the Thursday celebration, that ended with the Dragon Championship. Then I had to choose between playing as Hiccup or Astrid. I went with Hiccup for now, but I'd have to play the game as both characters anyway. As soon as I got control, I needed to get Toothless ready for the first tournament. I fed him all the items in my inventory, and then he took a nap. I also got in the habit of saving my game here, which would be absolutely vital later on. Once Toothless woke up, I took him to the training arena to work on his melee and fire attacks until he was level 5. Then I decked him out with some new cosmetics, and we entered the Snotlout tournament. These were fairly straightforward. I had to work my way up from the bottom of the leaderboard, battling progressively more challenging dragons. Going back to what I said about making sure to save, there was a missable trophy tied to each of the tournaments, and if I failed to fulfill the challenge of that trophy, I'd have to replay however much of the game passed since my last save. My first opponent ever was Scablout. For defeating her and securing my first win, I got the first step trophy. Then I faced Hulking in my next battle, and eventually Snotlout himself. But considering this was the tutorial, I won without much of a challenge and earned 2 trophies. New Champion for defeating Snotlout, and Unstoppable for doing so without being defeated, which was this tournament's missable trophy. From there, I gained a second dragon slot and recruited a Deadly Natter. There was also a cutscene that showed Snotlout stealing the dragon's food supply to make sure he won the next tournament. Gobber tasked me with gathering ingredients from a place called the Wild Zone, an area to farm resources for your dragons. Before I could get there, I needed to find tools and bring them back to the Viking at the bridge so he could fix it.
Lucky for you, I'm handy and can fix bridges.
While I was collecting resources out there, I found the last Viking I needed to talk to for the Great Speaker Trophy. Then I found this cave where I could play a few different challenges. I only had 2 of the 5 unlocked at the time: Ice Sculpting, where I used the fire ability to sculpt ice, and Looping Race, where I had to fly through rings before the timer ran out. There were 3 difficulties for each: Novice, Normal, and Expert, and for earning the gold medal in my first challenge, I got a trophy. Back in the village, I realized that I could tackle the wildlife and instantly turn them into food for the dragons. After doing this for quite some time, I had more than enough to bring Gobber, but I decided to keep going until I tackled 200 chickens and 200 boars. And the resources I got from that 200th boar added to the total number of common ingredients I had to make 1,000. I returned the ingredients to Gobber and unlocked the second tournament. To prepare, I trained my dragons as much as I could. The extra challenge for this tournament was that I couldn't leave it at any time to care for my dragons, meaning feed them or let them rest, so I made sure they were completely healthy before entering. This tournament wasn't as difficult as I expected, especially my first 2 opponents, but all that changed when it was time to fight fish legs. A mechanic of these battles is the ability to block attacks, but the way this guy did it was just different. He'd block forever, then hit me with a heavy combo placed perfectly between my attack animation. I ended up losing this on my first try, but I loaded one of my trusty saves and made my way back to the last match. Only now, I used his own tactic against him.
Victory! You have defeated fish legs!
This time, the cutscene showed Snotlout letting the dragons out of their den, including Toothless and my Deadly Natter. For now, I recruited a Gronkle with my 3rd slot, and as I was training him, I got another trophy. Okay, so the trophy I got was called Ultimate Customization, and it was for unlocking all customizations of a dragon family. So I just unlocked that just now while I was doing training. I faced the Wild Zone Viking in a wild battle to get my dragons back, and when I won, I got the Duelist trophy. Gobber gave me a recipe for dragon medicine, which I needed ginger and burdock roots to make. I could get these from challenges, and this time around I had the last 3 unlocked. For the Flying Shepherd challenge, I needed to fly between 4 islands, grab sheep from them, and drop them in a pen on the main island. Next was Memory Torch, where I watched these torches light up in a random order, then recreated the pattern. And last was Dragon Puzzle, where I needed to replicate the example dragon perfectly. I got the gold medal in all 3 of these challenges, plus the 2 from earlier, which unlocked the Success Trophy. I used the ingredients I got to heal my dragons and got them ready for the 3rd tournament. For this one, I simply had to fight the lowest rated opponent in every battle. This is where I discovered the most broken strategy for winning these tournaments, spamming the heavy guard break combo and then using level 2 charged fire. I repeated this process all the way up the leaderboard until the final battle against Tough Nut, but he wasn't immune to the combo, and neither was Rough Nut, who stepped in after.
Good work!
Then Snotlout stole the horn that Stoic used to begin tournaments, and guess what? I had to find it. Before that, I recruited a monstrous nightmare with my last slot, and brought all my dragons, including him, to full health for the Dragon Doctor trophy. I also did some training with the monstrous nightmare to catch him up with the others, and by this point I had all the trainings unlocked, meaning when I finished the last one, I got another trophy. From there, I found the horn, brought it back to the village, and marked the beginning of the 4th tournament, whose champion was Astrid. This time around, the challenge was the opposite of the last. I needed to fight the highest rated opponent, which actually made the tournament faster. The first match didn't go as smooth as I hoped, and in the second, Toothless was actually knocked out. I ended up winning, but I didn't really like how it was going, so I put the tournament on hold for now to do some leveling. Normal was now available, and for the first gold medal on that difficulty, I got a trophy. I also got a ton of rare ingredients from the challenge rewards that added up to 100 for the Enlightened trophy. Doing these challenges got all my dragons to level 20, but there was one more thing I could do to power them up. At the den, I put points into each dragon's characteristic bars, enhancing stats like speed, damage, and stamina. For maxing out Toothless's speed, I got the Perfectionist trophy and went back into the tournament.
KO!
On top of the 2 trophies for completing the tournament and the bonus objective, I got Viking Gold for having 10,000 gold on me at once. Astrid was surprised that she lost, but I wasn't. I mean, have you seen the strategy? Anyway, Snotlout came back and said that he had a special dragon for the championship. I asked around the village for any information on that special dragon, and the first guy I talked to offered me one of its legendary scales in exchange for catching 8 chickens. I brought the scale to Gobber, and that unlocked the final tournament. Everything else in the game so far had been pretty predictable, like whatever little excursion I had to go on between tournaments was shown in the cutscene, and it would be pretty straightforward, like collecting food for the dragons or returning the horn, but at least those made sense. I don't know, sorry for the rant, this part just seemed so random to me. Before going into the championship, there were some things I needed to do around the island, like leveling up my dragons so they'd stand a chance. Luckily, I unlocked expert difficulty on the challenges, meaning more XP, so that's where I went first. I started off strong, grabbing 2 trophies in the first expert ice sculpting challenge, What an Artist for sculpting 10 blocks in a row, and Extreme Competitor for getting a gold medal on expert. Moving on to the looping race challenge, I got another trophy for clearing 5 checkpoints in a row, then a 4th in Dragon Shepherd for returning 5 brown sheep in a row. And just as I got the trophy in Memory Torch for getting 6 sequences right in a row, which I don't even have footage for, something happened that I was dreading this entire playthrough. So I'm doing the challenges right now, and my PlayStation is frozen, and I haven't saved since, well, I haven't saved since right after the 4th tournament. So if I have to hard restart my PlayStation, that is going to suck a lot. Welp, never getting that hour back. I reloaded the save I had and speed ran all the expert challenges one more time to get to the last one, Dragon Puzzle. And for this next trophy, I just needed to perfectly match the example 3 times in a row. For earning every medal of every difficulty on every challenge, I got the Game Over trophy. Now that I had 17,000 gold, I took a trip to the shop to grab 2 quick trophies, Cooking Master for buying all the recipes, and Shopping Master for spending 10,000 gold. Then I reloaded a save I made right before spending my money, because I was going to be needing that gold for something else, and I didn't feel like making it all back. Earlier, I came across those wild dragon fights, and to enter, I needed to pay. I didn't go into too much detail on these earlier, but talking to this Viking allowed me to fight legendary dragons. Once I defeated them, they'd be playable in the game's arcade mode, which I'll get into in a few minutes. There were 11 of these battles for now, and the dragons were pretty cool looking, but that's about all there is to talk about. They were super easy fights. By now, I had done everything there was to do on the island leading up to the final tournament. The championship worked differently than the previous tournaments. Instead of having the freedom to choose my opponent, I needed to battle all the previous champions from before. The first was against Fishlegs and his scummy Gronkles. This took me like 7 tries, and when I got low on health, I just reloaded my save. I was finally able to take him down though once I remembered how to counter his playstyle. The next 2 fights were against Tough Nut and Rough Nut. I was able to get through these 2 stages on the first try. The fourth opponent was Astrid with 4 deadly natters. This one was also pretty easy. But now it was time for the final battle of the championship against Snotlout, and as for his special dragon, he had found 4 grapple grounders, 2 of which were level 23, the third was level 24, and the other was max level 25. And winning the championship unlocked Defeating those grapple grounders unlocked them in the arcade mode, and they were the only legendary dragons I needed after getting the ones from the wild fights, so that unlocked another trophy. The only thing left to do after the story was finish the rest of the wild fights. There were 5 left, each of them cost 1,000 gold to enter, and winning granted every dragon on my team 60,000 XP. Completing the battles earned me the legendary fighter trophy, and the XP I collected from the Viking afterwards brought all my dragons to max level 25. At this point I had about 16 hours of playtime, and I needed 20 for the Viking inhabitant trophy, so I stood on the side of this mountain and looked out into the distance while I typed this script. Now I had officially done everything there was to do on the island, so I moved on to the arcade mode. The first thing I did when I loaded in was import the dragons from my story save. Then I put together a team of my 4 story mode dragons, and I had to win 10 battles in a row on hard difficulty. Luckily, the matchups didn't have to be even, meaning I could give every opponent a single default Night Fury, and after every win, I simply needed to rematch until I won 10 times. Now I was able to switch the difficulty to easy, and after 10 more wins I got Exceptional Tamer for winning 20 battles with my story mode team. From here I created a custom Night Fury in the Dragon editor and went to win 20 battles with him as the only dragon on my team. The next trophy I went for took just a little more brain power than the last. All for One required me to win a fight with each default and legendary dragon. The method for this was to select my best dragon in the main slot and fill out the other 3 places on the team with the available dragons until I won a battle with them all on a team. Now I was down to the last 2 arcade trophies, Conqueror for winning 100 battles total, and Perfect for winning 50 battles without being hit. At this point I had 47 wins, 26 of which were perfect. The strategy did not change. I just chose my trusty Night Fury and spammed the hell out of my opponent. I had my 50th perfect battle on my 89th win, and from there I only needed 11 more quick wins.
A few moments later.
Now for the only part of the game I'd say I didn't enjoy, the second playthrough. The good news is, beating the game now will unlock the final trophy and the platinum. I started the playthrough as Astrid. This time my starting dragon was a Deadly Natter. I trained him up and we won the first tournament. Then I got me a Night Fury, unlocked the Wild Zone, then talked to Gobber to unlock the second tournament and win that. I recruited another Deadly Natter, trained him to win my other dragons back, and won the third tournament. Then I retrieved the Horn and won the fourth, caught those chickens to get the legendary scale, and prepared for the championship. But the Deadly Natter just wasn't hitting how I wanted it to, so I needed to bring back an old friend. And once I secured the win in the Thursday Championship for a second time, as for my thoughts on the How to Train Your Dragon game, I actually thought it was really fun to recruit dragons and, no pun intended, train them to be much stronger. The battles were a good time, even though I raged a little during a few of the matchups. I mean, sometimes the enemy AI was like on break and they didn't move at all. Then in the next battle, they're hitting a 20x combo on me and I'm instantly dead. But that's the charm of it, honestly. It's good because it isn't. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and if you did, be on the lookout for the upcoming sequel to this video in the near future, because in my research I didn't just find one How to Train Your Dragon game, I found two.